Good morning everyone. Today we are going to start a new topic called Introduction to Graphs. Now before I take up this topic, I would like to explain you the word plane. Now how come the plane word is right? Now many years back when there was no paper, the people used to derive the results, mathematical results with the help of the soil, the wet soil. They used to use the straws to draw the line and they prove the different results and draw the figures on the soil. And earth, they assume at that time, it's a flat surface. It is extended indefinitely in all the four directions because they can't see the end of the earth. So they assume that earth is a flat surface which is extended indefinitely in all the four directions. Later on, when they come to know the earth is not flat, it is spherical, round, something round. So that time they feel that now all our theories and results will go wasted. So in order to preserve those results, they deleted the word earth. In place of earth, they put the word plane, defining the plane as a flat surface which is extended indefinitely in all the four directions. And this has been derived by the French mathematician named René Descartes. Right? So he tried the word, he tried the term plane, he defined the word plane, and on his name, the plane was named as Cartesian plane because his name was René Descartes. So we call it Cartesian plane. Now, plane, again I am repeating the definition of the plane. Plane is a flat surface which is extended indefinitely in all the four directions. Now, redefining how to locate a point in a plane, we divided the plane in four parts with the help of two lines, which is they are intersecting each other, and because the line has no end. So because the plane is not having any end, so the lines, with the help of the lines, we divide the plane into four parts. Now why we need to do so? So for example, I ask to give a pen in a class to the fifth child sitting on the fifth seat. I say, Betty, give this pen to a child sitting at the fifth seat. Would you look at that? This is incomplete information. To which fifth child? So I say, go and give it to the child sitting on the fifth seat. You say, which row? Which row? Which line? So then I will say, okay, it is the fourth line and the fifth students. So then you know, immediately you will go and give this pen to the child. But until unless I give you the location, that child which is sitting at the fifth place in the fourth row is like a point in a plane. So until unless I know the distance of that point from the two sides, I cannot locate a point in a plane. So in order to locate a plane, a point in a plane, I need to divide. Now by drawing these lines, one vertical and a horizontal, we are dividing this plane into four parts. Now these two lines which are intersecting each other are right angle. They are perpendicular to each other. This vertical line is called y-axis and this horizontal line is called x-axis. We are going to label them, writing x dash and x dot, and the point where they intersect each other, we label it as O. These axes are called coordinate axes. AX, ES is a plural for AX, IX. So these both axes are called coordinate axes. And we are dividing this plane into four parts, moving anti-clockwise. This is called first quadrant. So quad word is used because we are dividing into four parts. First quadrant, it is second quadrant, this is third, and this is fourth. And repeating again, moving anti-clockwise, we have to label that this is the first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant and fourth quadrant. Now the point where the Now y-axis is labeled as y dash, and the point where these two x's are intersecting each other, this is called origin. Now, as these are lines, we are going to divide them into point divisions. They are the points. Now, how should we mark the points? Actually, these are imaginary lines. When we are dividing, we call it not 1, 2, 3, 4 centimeters or meters or decimeters. We are going to take up the divisions. Now, how you will take up the division? As is a number line, it is a line we are going to plot the numbers on it and give it the form of a number line which you have done in 6th standard. Now the division which you are going to take up, you are going to mention that in the scale, and the scale is always there on the top, on the right side of this graph. Suppose I am writing here 1, so it is 1 unit. Now on x-axis, you have to mention 1 unit. It can be of 1 centimeter if you are drawing it on a paper, and if you are taking up the graph, you have to write here that how many squares you are needing to mark point 1. Suppose you are needing 10 squares, so you write here 10 small square is equal to 1 unit. 10 small squares. And suppose we are taking the division on y-axis, this is marked 1. Suppose I have to mark more points on y-axis, so I will take a smaller division. Otherwise, it will not be possible on a piece of paper to mark all the points if I take bigger divisions. Suppose I am needing 5 squares, 5 small squares for 1 unit here. So on the scale, I have to mention that on y-axis, 1 unit is equal to 5 small squares. So this is very important to mention the scale, otherwise the graph is meaningless. As if we are on a map, when we draw a map, it is very important to mention there that how much distance we are representing 1 kilometer there on the map. Similarly in this graph, it is very important and you have to mention the scale, that 1 unit is equal to what? On x-axis and on y-axis. And once you have decided that suppose I am needing 10 small squares for 1 unit, so same gap you are going to take up for all the points. Now, as if you know that in 6th standard, you know on the right side of the number line we have all positive points. So I am writing 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. This arrow head is showing that this line is going on and on. And on the left side of 0, we are going to write here -1, -2, -3 and so on. Again, you have to take care that whatever the gap you have taken between 0 and 1, this is 0 here, 0 and 1, and the same gap you will take up from 0 to -1. So please take care of this thing. Now on y-axis, the part of the line which is above this horizontal axis, this above this point 0, we are going to take up all positive points here. Again, same gap, whatever is gap between 0 and 1, the same gap you will take between 1 and 2 and so on. Now below 0 we have all negative points, -1, -2, -3, -4 and so on. And these arrowheads are very important to mark because these are lines. So this gap can be same, this gap can be different. So whatever the unit you have taken on y-axis, you have to mention there that what division you have taken up on y-axis and what divisions you have taken up on x-axis. Now for this class, that is 8th standard, we are going to focus only on the first quadrant as we have to plot only the points which are having positive coordinates. Now what are the coordinates? Fine, I'll come to that later. I'm rubbing the remaining quadrants so that we can focus only on the first quadrant. So I'm rubbing this part of the number line. That is x-axis and y-axis. So now we are going to focus only on the first quadrant. Now Now, this point can be determined, the position of this point can be determined only when I know the distance of this point from both the axes. Now, I'll just see, now the distance of this point from y-axis is 2 units, right? The perpendicular distance. And the distance of this point from x-axis is also 2 units. So the coordinate of these points are 2, 2. Now the first one is called x coordinate or abscissa, and the number written later or the distance written later is called y coordinate or ordinate. So every point have two coordinates. First one is called x coordinate and second one is called y coordinate. The first one is giving us that what is the distance of this point from y-axis. X coordinate is telling the gap of the distance of this point from y-axis, and y coordinate is telling us the distance of this point from x-axis. X, y, x. So you have to remember it like this. And this is called abscissa and this is called ordinate. Another example I can take up. Let's say we have one more point here on this plane. Now, the distance of this point from y-axis, I will come to move from here. So it is 1. And the distance of this point from x-axis is 3. So it is 1. Plot these points on the actual graph so that you can understand better that how we are going to plot these points. Now I have taken few points here. Point A is having the coordinates 2 and 1. Point B is having the coordinates 3 and 5. Point C is having the coordinates 4 and 7. Now we have few points here which we are going to plot on the actual graph. So just see how I have drawn the graph. It is very important to focus on certain points. If you don't write these things there, then you will lose marks. First of all, how you have to label the x's. Now OY is y-axis and OX is x-axis. We have to write this is x-axis and this is y-axis. This is called labeling of the x's, which is must for every graph. Then I mentioned the scale here. On x-axis, 1 unit is equal to 10 small squares or 1 big division. See, I have taken 10 small squares, or this is called 1 big division. So you can write anything there, right? On y-axis, I have written 1 unit is equal to 10 small squares. I have taken the same gap. So you can take the different also. You can write, if you have marked the point here, then you can write it as 5 small squares. Anything you can take up. So whatever you have decided to take up as a scale, so you have to mention there that on y-axis 1 unit is equal to 10 small squares or 1 big division. Now I'll start the plotting of these points or locating the points on the plane. Now point A is having the coordinates 2 and 1. Now 2 is x coordinate, so it means the distance of this point from y-axis is 2 units. So this is here, fine, and the distance of this point from x-axis is 1 unit, that is y coordinate. So this point is here. Here we are. So you have to circle it and write this is A having the coordinate 2 and 1. So you can show it with the help of the dotted line also if you want. That is optional. Right? I can just mark it a dotted line showing the gap of this point from y-axis is 2 unit and from x-axis it is 1 unit. So the coordinates are 2 and 1. Let's move on to the next point. B is having the coordinates 3 and 5. So now just see the gap of this point from y-axis 3 units, it's here, and from x-axis it is 5. So let's move on. Here we are. So this is the point. 3 and 5. This is point B. Right? You can show the dotted line. It's optional for you. That the gap 1, 2, 3 from y-axis and 5 units gap from x-axis. So these are the coordinates here. Next point is C. Its gap from y-axis is 4. So it is 4 here, and gap from x-axis it is 7. So we move it on. Here we are 7. So this is the point, having the coordinates 4 and 7, and this is point C, right? You can just show it with the help of scale that the gap is 1, 2, 3, 4 from y-axis and 7 unit from x-axis. Then D is 0 and 5. 0 means that having no gap from y-axis. So it means it is lying on y-axis. Here we are, right? And 5 unit from x-axis. So it is 5 unit from x-axis. So this is 0 and 5 are the coordinates of this point, and we label it as point D. 5 unit gap from x-axis and 0 unit gap from y-axis, that is, it is not away from y-axis, it is lying on y-axis. So this is point D. Next is E, 6 and 0. Now x coordinate is 6, that is gap from y-axis is 6 unit. Here we are, and it is having 0 unit gap from x-axis. So this is, it is lying on x-axis. It is 6 and 0, and we marked it as E. So point E is here, having the gap, having the coordinates 6 and 0. That is a gap from y-axis 6 and gap from x-axis 0. That is, it is lying on x-axis. So next is F. Coordinates are 0 and 6. So again, 0 gap from y-axis. So it is lying on y-axis, and 6 unit gap from x-axis. So this is point F, having the coordinates 0 and 6. So it is very important that 0 and 6 and 6 and 0 are two different points. So just like you label the line segment AB and BA, you find that line segment is same. So, but it is not so there in the graph. 0, 6 is here and 6, 0 is here. There are two different points. So changing the order of the coordinates will going to change the points also. So the last point is O, that is 0, 0. That is 0 unit away from x-axis and 0 unit away from y-axis. It is origin 0, 0. So origin is having the coordinates 0, 0. That it is lying on y-axis and it is lying on x-axis. The point of intersection of both the axes. Origin having the coordinate 0, 0.